Welcome back, day 3. It's Wednesday. Okay, now I think you might find that you're starting to make a little bit of progress, and I want to know what's going on. Have you noticed the dialogue? Have you noticed the way you talk to yourself about food? Have you noticed the way the devil tries to sell you the non-foods? I know right now the sales pitch is not so difficult because all the devil has to do is go, Eric said so. But I still want you to notice the other things that the devil says, like, oh, but you worked really hard today, or, the weather sucks today, or, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, or, like there's all these different things, and I want you to notice what the devil uses to convince you. I'm going to give you an example. A friend of mine was a very diligent, fitness guy, really worked out all the time. And his little trigger, he had a little rule, and we're going to be talking today about meanings and rules. And he had a little rule that when he did a really, really good workout, that he could treat himself, right? He did a really, really good workout so he could treat himself. So one day I asked him, I said, I'm curious, if you had a really nice performance sports car and you then drove it 100 miles or 100 kilometers, it doesn't really matter, but you drove it hard miles, and you really took it out on the racetrack and really whipped it around. What kind of oil and fuel would you want to put in when you did the refreshing of it? Would you want to put in junk oil and junk fuel? Or, with your performance car, would you want to give it the very best stuff to fuel up on, right? And suddenly he realized what he was doing is he's going off and doing this big workout, and then his body's going to need to rebuild muscle and all this stuff, and he's putting junk in to rebuild with. Interesting rule. So one of the things that he had to learn is that, English is a funny language. We have words that mean more than one thing. My wife sometimes, she'll say to me, Eric, behave. And I'll say to her, I'm behaving badly. And so when you say to yourself, I'm going to treat myself, my question immediately is going to be, sure, but are you treating yourself well or treating yourself badly? And that's why today we're going to be talking about meanings and rules. Meanings and rules are ever so important in the process of deciding what we're going to eat and when we're going to eat it and how much we're going to eat. What I mean by meanings are that there are certain foods, there are certain habits, there are certain behaviors wherein there's like a built-in, this food means that. This food means that. Here's a great example. Some of you might be doing this challenge where in the course of the next 3 months, there's going to be a holiday. There's going to be a special occasion. I've had people that are doing this program and suddenly they land right smack dab in the middle of the program and they find themselves in a given week where maybe we're not having so much sugar or maybe not at all even, and it's Easter or it's Christmas, right? And they've had but then they have this meaning. Well, the meaning is I have to have that stuff during that season. Really? Who taught you that? Who taught you that meaning, right? Well, I'll tell you who taught it to you. Your parents, your government, your teachers, your school, and most of all, the people behind it all, the food manufacturing business. Like Santa Claus in that big red suit, Coca-Cola and Santa Claus. What's going on there? You notice that? Coca-Cola's entire system is about making you feel good and seeing the logo, feel good and see the logo. And so they create this beautiful vintage Santa Claus for you to fall in love with. And the next thing you know, feeling good, see the logo, feeling good, see the logo, gets reversed to see the logo and feel good, and I better buy it, right? So the meanings that we assess to food, what that given food means to us, that's a treat. Or I'm going to cheat. You know what's really funny about cheating? In every area of life, cheating is a bad thing, if you really think about it, right? Like, if a friend of yours cheats in a game of cards, how do you feel about that friend? Are they even still a friend? If a friend of yours, or how about this, if your partner cheats on you, is that cute? Is it cute when I cheated, I just cheated? Or is it in fact really bad? And then why is it that for some reason when somebody tries to improve their diet or their health, and then all of a sudden they say to themselves, oh, I cheated a little. Why is it somehow cute? Because the diet industry's taught us that. They've taught us that we can treat ourselves and that it's okay to have a little cheat and all this kind of stuff. So we're really going to pay attention to the various meanings that we have where an event means a certain kind of food or a food means a certain feeling. And of course, what that really means is rules. So what are your rules? What are your rules for eating non-foods? What are your rules for eating junk foods? What are your rules for jumping off the wagon? What are your rules for not eating the best stuff at times? What are they? Like, do you have foods that equal reward? Do you? I mean, It's not unusual to have a food that equals reward. Like if you worked out every day and you really put the effort in, what would you want to eat as your reward? Or if you worked really hard that day at work and you got lots done, or you won a big deal, or you got a big assignment done, do you reward yourself? Or if you've been really good on your diet for the last 3 days or a week or a month, then do you allow a little cheat? Do you reward yourself? You see, these rules are really, really fascinating, because what rules are is an opportunity to cut down decision making. Decision making is actually really tiring. It takes a lot of energy. You may have heard that Steve Jobs had a very good reason for wearing the same t-shirt and the same jeans all the time. Do you guys know the story? He would wear every time you saw him, he's wearing the same outfit, or the black shirt and the jeans all the time. Well, it turns out the reason he did that was so that he'd have one less decision to make at the beginning of the day. Because by the end of the day, he was having a hard time making decisions. Come on, haven't you had this? If you're in a relationship, haven't you come home and you said to your boyfriend, husband, wife, girlfriend, whatever the case may be, and you've said, hey, what are we going to have for dinner? I don't know, what do you want to have? And nobody wants to make a decision? That's because the decision engine has become tired. And so rules are a way of shortcutting it and not having to make decisions. Oh, like in my family, here was the best one of all. If it's raining on a Sunday, it's pancake day. Oh yeah. If it's raining on a Sunday, it's pancake day. Now, the problem with this rule for my family is that my family's originally from South Africa, which meant that it didn't really rain that often on a Sunday. Then we moved to Canada, and it pretty much rains every Sunday. I'm kidding, but I mean, it's raining all the time, right? And so we had this rule that worked in one of our, to set up a treat where maybe it rained on a Sunday 3 times in the year, and then all of a sudden we're living in Canada, and it rains 3 Sundays out of the month. And so we're having pancakes all the time because the rule shortcuts decision making. So it's interesting for you to take a look at, what are your rules? What are your rules? What triggers you to want to eat certain foods? What are the sequences of events where you go, if this, then that? If this, then that. What are your rules? What do you eat when you've had a really bad day? Come on, we've all had that day. Things didn't go the way you wanted to, somebody was mean to you, you weren't very productive. What do you want to eat to undo that? Or what do you want to eat when you had a really good day? Like a really good day. Everything just was in flow for you. It's time to celebrate. What's the rule? Right? What's the rule if you got a new promotion? Got to have champagne, right? What's the rule if it's a birthday? Well, I don't normally eat cake, but it's my birthday, right? Do you see, like, there are these rules, and these rules are like sales clinchers for the devil. The devil hauls these rules out, the little food devil hauls these rules out and says, hey, if this, then that, boom. And the angel's like, oh yeah, I guess that's true, it's a rule. And the debate's over, right? So now, I want you to really listen carefully for those rules. When your food devil tries to haul out a rule, I want you to ask, why do I have that rule? Is it really a functional rule? Is it supporting my health? Is it supporting my weight? Why do I really have that rule? Pay close attention to the rules, and you can change everything. And so I want to give you some new rules. I want to give you some rules for this program. Here's one. You should never be hungry. I don't want you to be hungry once over the next 3 months. I hope that excites some of you. For those of you who have ever done like calorie restriction diets, let's be really clear. I'm going to explain why they don't work. Because they only work in the short term for some people, because if you starve yourself, you will begin to use your body's storage and you'll lose weight. But the problem is your body will recognize that you're starving, and the minute food becomes available again, your body will eat enough food to undo all of the benefit that you may have gained by starving yourself. Not only that, when you starve yourself, you don't simply starve yourself of the calories that are relative to the fat, but you're also starving yourselves of nutrients that are actually needed by the body. Remember our discussion about vitamin C? So starving oneself is not really that functional an idea. So one of the rules of this program is you should not allow yourselves to get hungry. You should not allow yourself to get hungry. Okay, here's another rule. You must stay hydrated. I know I've already given you the enhancement. I've said, hey, you got to drink all this water. I just want to be really clear. You need to follow that rule. In fact, tomorrow, we're going to talk about the fundamental core hungers of being human, the 6 human hungers. And I'm going to give you a little preview, because one of them is thirst. You see, traditionally, humans got a huge amount of their food a huge amount of their water, from the food they ate. They would eat food, it contained water, they got their water. Remember, for most of history, we did not have water bottles and containers and pottery. We didn't have that stuff. And so, yes, we would of course drink water when it was available, but it wasn't available all the time and we didn't carry it around with us. We got a huge amount of our water from the food we ate. And so today, when a person gets dehydrated, when they don't have enough water in their system, their body sends an old SMS message from the old days. And the old SMS message says, eat. You're thirsty. Eat something. You're low on water. Eat something, because back then, almost everything we ate had a huge amount of water in it. And so today, thirst motivates us to eat. But then, of course, the problem is, what do most people go and eat? I go, oh, God, I'm really hungry. I'll go have a can of Pringles. Oh, really? How much water do you suppose is in a can of Pringles? There's a negative amount of water. It's like pure dehydration. There's nothing. And so you put them in your face, and then your body has to use what little water is in there to process that food. And now you have even less water. And so you're even more thirsty. And so you get another message to eat some more food. Have you ever had that experience where you eat a little of something and then suddenly, it works like this. The devil's like, oh, come on, just one chip. Just one chip. One chip's not going to hurt anybody. One chip never hurt anybody. One chip, one chip, one chip, one chip. And then the angel goes, fine, you can have the one chip. And then you eat the one chip. And then what does the devil say right after that? Oh, one more. And just one more. One chip never hurt anybody. Just one more chip. And then next thing you know, the bag's gone. And then the bag's gone. And then what does the devil say when the bag's gone? Just one more chip, right? Well, part of what's going on there is the devil's actually trying to save your life. That's the joke of it. What a lot of us don't realize is the food devil is actually on our side. He's just using outdated information. And so if you're in that moment dehydrated, then the food devil's going, whoa, we're dehydrated, we gotta eat something. Now the devil, motivation is good, wanting to save your life, but on the downside, the devil also wants to eat really high calorie, low quality food for some reason. And so the next thing you know, the devil's going, hey, just one more chip. And the joke of it was, the entire time, it was because you were dehydrated, and then the chip made you more dehydrated. And I know some of you are way past eating chips in your life right now. I know some of you still enjoy them. I'm not speaking to that specific food. I'm speaking to a pattern of thirst stimulates hunger. Hunger stimulates eating food. Most of the food we eat today has no water in it. Hence, we're more dehydrated and want to eat more food. So we're definitely going to pay attention to rule number one. That is that we're going to never allow ourselves to get hungry on this program. You're going to eat. And secondly, you're going to absolutely stay very hydrated while you're on the program. Okay, so to recap what we're doing this week, and specifically what we've talked about today, we're really focused on meanings and rules. And again, I want to recap this issue. The thing with meanings and rules are very closely related. In a sense, the meaning is the underpinning of a rule. This means that, therefore this behavior, and they all work together. So one of the questions you want to ask yourself is that if you were to deny yourself some food, how would you feel? What would it mean? Would it mean you were deprived? Would it mean you're not loved? Would it mean that you're unfortunate in some way? What would it mean if you did get to eat the food? Oh, that you've behaved really well, that you're loved, that you're important. You see, I really want you to take a look at what, and remember, these meanings, they're different for different foods. In other words, for some people, remember I mentioned cookies? Cookies for me, they were all about love. My mom would once a month go out and buy a bag of cookies, and she would say, now we're only going to have this one bag of cookies this month, and that's it for the rest of the month. So what that meant was there was a tremendous amount of scarcity. They had to be eaten. I had to eat them before anybody else ate them, right? Because there's only going to be so many of them, and my mom got them for me. So the meanings were, if they're there, eat them quickly, and they're equal to love. I mean, pay attention. How about another one? If you think of something like ice cream, right? What are the meanings there? A lot of times in the case of ice cream, it's about celebration. It brings back memory of summer. And what I really want you to think about is this, that very often the meanings are tied to memories. You are quite frequently making food decisions based on nostalgia, eating memories. I'm eating this thing because it gives me a feeling from the past. And that's going to be really interesting for you to notice whether things over the next few weeks really taste as good as you think they do. Because there are foods you eat right now that the feeling, the emotion is what drives you to eat it. The taste is actually not that good. In fact, many of you have already had this experience. You've bought something that you regarded as a treat. You've had the first taste. It wasn't quite as good as you thought it was going to be. but you kept eating it anyway because after all you bought it, and then you found that at the end you either didn't finish it or you forced yourself to finish it because, hell, I've paid for it and I don't want to waste it, right? That's because we thought it was going to make us feel a certain way. And then when it didn't make us feel that way, we just kept trying. So pay very close attention to that. And then when we're talking about rules, again, think about all the different relationships that events have to food and food have to events. One of the funniest things in the world, this is so cute, but very often, this might be the case for you, or you might know somebody who does this, but they'll go off and have ice cream, like, out at a fair or a zoo or a circus or something like that, right? And here's what's really funny. Many adults, they'll order an ice cream and they'll walk over and find themselves a park bench and they'll sit down and eat the ice cream. And what they don't know is that the reason by the way, I've said this in front of like live audiences with thousands of people in the room. And what's really funny about that is that I say this next part about they buy their ice cream, they walk over, they sit down on the park bench. There are a bunch of people that giggle. It's not true for everybody, but it's very true for many of them. And they giggle. And the reason they giggle is they never really noticed it before. It was a rule, right? A rule is simply a shortcut in the decision process. So they had the ice cream, they had to go sit down. Here's why it happened. Their parents used to use ice cream to control their behavior. That's what happened. They would go to a fair, or they'd go to a circus or a zoo or whatever the case may be, and the parents were tired of them running around, and parents just needed a break, and the parents would go, okay, I'll get you an ice cream, but we have to sit down when we have ice cream. And the kid goes, all right, fair deal, I get to have ice cream, I just have to sit down. The kid sits down, has the ice cream, and just like, you know the whole idea of like if you tie up a baby elephant with a chain, and it keeps trying to break the chain, and it keeps trying to break the chain, and it keeps trying to break the chain, and then eventually you can just have it on a rope, and then you can have this fully adult elephant that could have broken the chain is now tied up with a rope because it is trapped by the rule. Well, same with these adults. They were told as a kid, if you want to have ice cream, you got to sit down. Now they're an adult, they're buying an ice cream, and they're sitting down, and they don't even know. And that's what I want you to know. I want you to really notice the rules that are driving your food decisions. So, this week, we're not changing anything. If you want it, you should be eating it. Have you done it? Come on. Have you had French fries? Hey, if you were completely done with French fries before and have no desire for them, then no, you probably haven't had French fries. But if you're like a lot of people, you've had French fries. And if you haven't had them and you wanted them, you must have them. Have you had pizza? Have you had a little dessert? Chocolate? Come on, ice cream? I hope so. You're supposed to be having them right now as long as you're paying attention to how did you feel before you had it? How did you feel with the first mouthful? How did you feel while you were eating it? How did you feel finishing it off? How did you feel right away when you were done? How did you feel half an hour later? Really, truly. In the case of something like ice cream, cheese, or milk, did you notice that your throat gets a little sticky and croupy? In the case of something like pizza, did you notice that your energy drops and your stomach feels like lead? In the case of sugar, did you notice that sometimes you have this like spike of energy and then you crash and you're a little more moody and grumpy than maybe you should be? I want you to really stop the clock, slow time down, and pay attention to that. And then, like I said, pay attention to your dialogue. How are you talking yourself in and out of certain foods? Come on, we should have it just this one time. Look, it's my dog's friend's cousin's dentist's birthday. We've got to have it. I'm kidding about that, but I know that there's a dialogue in there. And I really want you to pay attention to that dialogue. And then, like I said, this week, pay attention. What does this food mean? What would not having it mean? And what are the rules that trigger automatic food decisions? And I want you to start to question them all. And I'll see you tomorrow.